Hi, Dr. Tom Lewis here, founder of RealHealth Innovations. We're a health creation company. And today I'm going to be talking about cancer, and specifically that there's a presumption that cancer is not in your control. It's either genetic or luck or just your fate. But I'm here to tell you that cancer is completely in your control. And we're probably not getting to the root of cancer, but there's plenty of precedence that shows that there are risks that you can manage when it comes to cancer. My favorite article, New York Times, help us to prevent cancer. Actually, quite a bit is in your control. And the article goes into certain lifestyle things, excess sugar, smoking obviously, excess alcohol, things that we can easily modify, junk food. These are highly associated with your future risk for cancer. You can take steps to lower your breast cancer risk. Once again, this is from the New York Times Well blog, some great information in there. One of the key things about cancer is we're treating the tumor. The question is tumor the actual disease? Yes, the tumor, the proliferation of this tumor can kill you, but what caused the tumor to proliferate in the first place? So this article talks about when cancer strikes the second time, it comes back much more aggressively. So clearly the chemo, the radiation, whatever, didn't get to the underlying cause, and these treatments actually suppress your immune system, so maybe whatever is underlying can come back much more virulently, much more aggressively, and be much more devastating, lead to much higher and quicker mortality. So in many cases, the development of the second cancer resulted from the same risk factors that most likely precipitated the first malignancy. So once again, if you've had cancer, you need to reassess where you were before you had that first bout and make some strides to improve your health. So looking at tobacco use, obesity, which raises insulin, infection, human papillomavirus, and other bacteria like H. pylori that are easily detected are known human carcinogens, modifiable and treatable causes of cancer. So next I want to cover the current state of screening that we have for cancer. And pretty much every screening tool that's used in modern medicine is detecting the tumor that's already in place, not looking at the risk factors that lead to the development of that tumor. So US panel now says no to prostate screening for healthy men. Side effects. There are side effects from impotence to all kinds of other side effects from the actual measurement or the invasive procedure to evaluate whether an existing tumor is there. The downside of breast cancer screening. We've looking at mammography, the detection of cancer through mammography is not decreasing mortality from breast cancer. So is this a worthwhile diagnostic methodology? We question that. Studies question colonoscopy effectiveness. We're seeing most people who go for a colonoscopy, they're always going to find that polyp. Are they finding a tumor? What can we do to back up and find the signs of that tumor long before a colonoscopy would even detect it? So what should we be doing in cancer detection? And what should we be doing from a lifestyle perspective to reduce our odds of ever getting cancer? Or if we had it, to reduce the odds of having it come back. So here's the World Cancer Research Fund, the link between lifestyle and cancer. Around a third of the most common cancers could be prevented through lifestyle changes. And this is a guesstimate, and we believe, based on current research, that this third is a clear underestimate. Half, maybe all cancers. We don't know at this point, but it's in your best interest to take the right steps to eliminate the possibility of this disease. So in RealHealth, we provide a dashboard to help you assess your health. And one of the factors we look at is what is your cancer risk. We're looking at a myriad of risk factors in your life and your lifestyle that may be leading to increased cancer risk. And we can measure over time to see this cancer risk go down. What are those factors? Let's delve into it. Well, the first one is insulin. Diabetics have much higher rates of cancer than people without diabetes. And what is insulin? Insulin unlocks the door to your cells for fuel. Well, guess what? Cancer cells as well, viruses that may lead to cancer, infection that may lead to cancer, are also cells. And what insulin does is push fuel, pushes sugar. So the cancer cells proliferate. Insulin pushes sugar. The more insulin you have in your system, the more fuel can be provided to the cancer cells. So it's a bad combination. That's why diabetics have more cancer. So if you look at cancers that increase with insulin levels, with increasing insulin levels, colorectal cancer, the number 2 killer. Research shows increased incidence with elevated sugar. Gastric cancer, 100% increase with insulin levels. Breast cancer, 2 to 3 times higher incidences, just correlated to the level of insulin in your blood. Endometrial, prostate, liver cancer, and of course, the deadliest of all the cancers, usually with a 1-year death sentence, is pancreatic cancer. Literature shows higher the insulin, higher the likelihood of pancreatic cancer, higher the likelihood of increased mortality with insulin as well. So can you modify that? Yes. Lower carbs, lower sugar, higher healthy fats. Simple solutions to bring this insulin risk factor for cancer way down. The next one is the sun. What does the sun do for us? Helps us produce vitamin D. And this is the Cancer Treatment Centers of America. On their website, vitamin D is an important part of a healthy diet. It helps promote a healthy immune system, but it's also involved in blood vessel growth and cell growth. Cancer is fast-growing cells. Vitamin D helps regulate the growth of cells. Vitamin D, elevated vitamin D, is highly correlated to reduced rates of cancer. And so this is a map of cancer incidence across the country with basically the amount of sunlight that reaches the ground. And we can see in areas where there's not a lot of sunlight reaching the ground, we see red regions, more breast cancer. Okay, blue regions, less breast cancer. Out on the West Coast, obviously the Californians are using a lot more sunscreen. That's probably why we're seeing these patches of redness in areas where there's a lot of sunshine, because you're screening. We've been told to avoid skin cancer. As a consequence, we're getting more breast cancer and other forms of cancer because we're not producing vitamin D, and vitamin D is produced from cholesterol on the surface of our skin. So it's extremely important to get some modest sunshine and up our vitamin D levels. So, excuse me, this is not new data. This is Niels Ryberg-Finsen, 1903 Nobel Prize in Medicine for the healing power of sun. We're solving tuberculosis, leprosy, in sanatoriums where people are getting a lot of sun. These infectious diseases have a high correlation to cancer likelihood. So the next thing I want to move on from, we looked at insulin, we looked at vitamin D. The next thing I'm going to look at is our immune cells, our white blood cells in particular. So here's through a vessel, we see red blood cells and we see white blood cells. And what do the white blood cells do? They have our back. They're there fighting infection. And what we see is a profound connection between white blood cells and cancer. And specifically, there's a certain ratio that is highly predictive of the likelihood of getting cancer and your prognosis if you have cancer. And specifically, it's the neutrophil to lymphocyte ratio. What is that? Neutrophils are a type of white blood cell. The big fellows that go after bacteria. When neutrophils are up in your body, you probably have a bacterial infection. The second type of white blood cell tied to cancer is a lymphocyte. Lymphocytes tend to go down with cancer or a viral infection. So we take this ratio of neutrophil to lymphocyte and we get this amplified signal for our cancer risk. And what do we see? It's prognostic for breast cancer. This ratio is an indicator for poor prognosis in lung cancer. It's prognostic for gastric cancer. It's useful in determining short and long-term mortality for women and even men who have been diagnosed with breast cancer. And it's useful in predicting short and long-term mortality, already said in breast cancer and in pancreatic cancer, which I don't have up here. But the point is, you have control over your neutrophil to lymphocyte ratio. Neutrophils are fighting bacteria, lymphocytes are with viruses. Improve your immune system, vitamin D, healthy fats, exercise, sunlight. Your neutrophil to lymphocyte ratio, doing basic lifestyle things, will improve in favor of better prognosis if you're ever diagnosed with cancer. So to wipe out cancer, it's a very simple thing. 3 measurements. Measure your insulin. Control your insulin. Measure your vitamin D. Increase your vitamin D with supplements or sun exposure. And blood counts. Work to improve your neutrophil to lymphocyte ratio. This can be done with an anti-inflammatory diet. Each can be improved by actions you take. You have control over cancer. So let's look at the forensic files of preventing cancer. Lifestyle. Lifestyle begets risks. You have control over the cancer risks. We see it in your blood, the neutrophil to lymphocyte ratio, the vitamin D levels. Late in the game, we can detect cancer in various tissue. And the eye, for example, is an area where we can see solid tumors forming. And ultimately, we're trying to prevent disease. It's a very simple process. In our system, even on your smartphone, we can measure your risk portfolio and help you move the needle towards lower risk for diseases like cancer, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes. They're all ultimately interrelated. So I hope you realize now that you have substantial control over your cancer risk and cancer prognosis. It's not luck, it's genetics. You have control over it. My name is Dr. Tom Lewis with RealHealth Innovations. I appreciate your time. Thank you.